In the kingdom of winter, deep in the snow-covered evergreen forest, lived an old bear couple named Mr. and Mrs. Bear. Their cozy cave was nestled between snow-laden pine trees and a glistening frozen lake. Inside, the walls were lined with an assortment of treasures they had collected during their adventures through the forest, holding a special memory just waiting to be rediscovered. For the past few months, Mr. and Mrs. Bear have been fast asleep in their cave, hibernating through the cold winter. But today was a very special day. It was Valentine's Day. And though no one else knew it, the bears had a secret tradition of waking up early from their winter slumber and surprising each other with a special gift. They believed that Valentine's Day wasn't just about hearts and flowers, but mostly about expressing their everlasting love for each other. As the sun began its slow ascent, casting long shadows across the frosty landscape, Mr. Bear stirred from his sleep. His heart swelled with love and excitement as he thought about the day ahead. He gently nudged his beloved wife, whose breathing was still soft and even. "Wake up, my love," he whispered, his voice thick with sleep. "It's Valentine's Day." Mrs. Bear yawned, stretching her paws above her head before opening her eyes. A wide smile spread across her face as she realized what the day meant. "Oh, I had the most wonderful dream about fish," she said sleepily. "I dreamt we went fishing together in the berry patch stream. You remember how much you loved catching those little rainbow trout?" Mr. Bear chuckled, his eyes twinkling with affection. "Of course I do," he replied, "and today promises to be just as delightful." As they slowly got out of bed, their fur still ruffled from their long winter nap, the bears couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. Each year, they took turns planning these special Valentine's Day surprises. Last year, Mrs. Bear had woken up early and created a delicious breakfast feast, while Mr. Bear had gathered a bouquet of fragrant wildflowers. The year before that, they had shared a romantic picnic lunch amidst a sea of blossoming wildflowers. It was a tradition that kept their love strong and their spirits high even in the heart of winter. Today, it was Mr. Bear's turn to plan the surprise. And he had something special in mind. As the bears started their day, they wasted no time in getting ready. They quickly groomed themselves, put on their favorite outfits, and set about preparing for their Valentine's Day festivities. Mr. Bear, always the romantic, had decided to surprise his wife with a hand-picked bouquet of her favorite flowers, some freshly shucked oysters, and a cozy new pair of slippers. Mrs. Bear, in turn, had prepared a special breakfast and planned to spend the afternoon reading aloud from their favorite book of poetry. It was a perfect plan, and the bears felt a surge of love and happiness as they prepared for their special day together. After getting themselves ready, the bears made their way out of their cozy cave and into the magical forest. The air was crisp and clear, carrying with it the sweet scent of pine and the promise of spring. As they walked hand in paw, the forest came alive around them. Squirrels chattered from the treetops, birds sang their joyful songs, and the gentle rustling of leaves and the crunch of snow beneath their paws filled the air. It was as if the forest itself was celebrating the day. But the bears didn't notice the beauty around them. They were too focused on their own little world of love and anticipation. Mr. Bear was excited to see the joy his gift would bring to his wife's face, while Mrs. Bear couldn't wait to curl up with a good book and enjoy a peaceful afternoon with her darling husband. The forest seemed to fade away as they both lost themselves in their own thoughts, each eager to make this Valentine's Day the best yet. As they rounded a snow-covered log, Mr. Bear stopped in his tracks. His eyes widened in surprise, and a look of panic crossed his face. "Oh dear," he exclaimed, his voice tight with worry. "I completely forgot to pick up those oysters for our Valentine's Day breakfast." Mrs. Bear turned to her husband, her eyes filled with concern. She could tell from his tone and the sudden urgency in his movements that something was wrong. "What's happened, my love?" she asked gently. "Don't worry," Mr. Bear said, trying to sound reassuring. "I have an idea." With that, he grabbed his wife's paw, and they hurried off in the direction of the nearby lake, their earlier romantic mood replaced by a sense of urgency. The bears ran as fast as they could, their heavy paws pounding the frozen ground. The sight of the shimmering lake came into view, and Mr. Bear's heart sank. The ice was thick and solid, making it impossible to find any fresh oysters. Just then, Mrs. Bear stopped, her eyes fixed on something ahead. "Look, my love," she said, her voice filled with awe. They had reached a small clearing where a group of rabbits were busy digging holes in the soft earth. "Excuse me," Mrs. Bear called out to them, "but would you know where I could find some fresh oysters? We'd be ever so grateful." The rabbits looked up, their noses twitching. One of them, a sassy young doe, hopped closer. "Looking for oysters? Are you?" "You're out of luck, lady. This is prime digging season, and all the best spots are taken." She turned to leave, but Mrs. Bear stopped her with a gentle touch. "Please," she said softly. "We'd be so grateful if you could help us. It's for a special Valentine's Day surprise." The doe considered this, her ears drooping slightly. Seeing the sincerity in Mrs. Bear's eyes, she finally agreed to lead them to a nearby stream where they might find what they needed. With the rabbits' directions, the bears headed towards the stream, their hope of having a successful Valentine's Day rekindled. However, upon reaching the stream, they discovered it was also covered in a thick layer of ice, mirroring the frozen lake they had come from. Disappointed, they considered their options. Suddenly, Mr. Bear spotted a small opening in the ice near the bank. "There," he exclaimed, "maybe we'll get lucky there." With renewed hope, they rushed to the opening and began to dig. As the bears worked tirelessly to break the ice, the weight of their predicament pressed down on them. They had wasted precious time, and now their Valentine's Day plans were in jeopardy. The forest, once a place of joy and anticipation, now seemed to mock their efforts. Just when their hope began to dwindle, they heard a familiar voice. "Need a hand?" The sassy young doe from earlier stood at the edge of the stream with a mischievous grin. "We could use one," Mrs. Bear replied, her voice tight with frustration. The doe hopped closer and, with surprising strength, began helping the bears dig. Finally, after what felt like hours, the ice gave way, and they were rewarded with the sight of clear, flowing water. With a final heave, the bears and the doe managed to clear the remaining ice, allowing them access to the stream. The clearing was filled with the sweet sound of rushing water, and the sweet smell of fresh earth filled the air. The doe, exhausted but pleased with their accomplishment, watched as the bears excitedly searched for oysters. As the bears were happily gathering oysters, Mrs. Bear noticed the doe watching them with an expectant look. "How can we ever thank you for your help?" she asked. The doe smiled, her eyes twinkling. "A friend in need is a friend indeed," she said. "Just call on us if you ever need anything." With that, she turned and hopped away, leaving the bears to finish their task. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the bears gathered their oysters and made their way back home. They had learned the importance of friendship and teamwork, realizing that even the smallest creatures can be mighty when they work together. Their Valentine's Day plans were still in jeopardy, but they carried on, their spirits lifted by the kindness they had received and the promise of a brighter day. Back at their cozy cave, the bears assessed the damage. The morning had slipped away, and their cave was bare and uninviting. They had nothing to show for their hasty trip to the lake. But instead of despairing, they clung to the memory of their earlier success. The icy stream had yielded not only oysters, but a valuable lesson in resilience and camaraderie. Suddenly, Mr. Bear had an idea. "Why don't we create our own Valentine's Day feast right here in our cave?" he suggested, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. Mrs. Bear loved the idea. She rubbed family photos off the wall and hung them up with care, turning their cave into a dining room fit for royalty. Using some of their winter stash, they laid out a simple yet elegant table, complete with a hand-drawn menu and a single red rose and a chipped teacup. As they shared their Valentine's Day feast, surrounded by the echoes of their laughter and the glow of their love, the bears realized that their day hadn't been a failure. They had shared an experience that would bind them even closer, reminding them that true love and connection were the most valuable treasures they could find. And so, the bears spent the rest of the day reminiscing over old times, sharing dreams for the future, and reaffirming the love that had brought them together all those years ago. They snuggled close as the wind howled outside their cave, feeling grateful for their cozy den and the enduring strength of their bond. Despite the unexpected challenges, their Valentine's Day had turned into a celebration of their love, their friendship, and the beauty of their untamed wilderness home.